So in last session, just we started understanding the basics. Okay, technically, the platform what we use for the development on Salesforce we call as Post.com platform or Salesforce.com platform. So on that platform, we are like a full stack developer. Full stack means we deal with the UI, the web page, the business logic behind the web page, and also through business logic there is the interaction with the database to get the data from database or to save the data into database. We are like a full stack developer. So first we need to understand about the Apex, one of the programming language. Okay, so we just started understanding. The first thing, it is case insensitive, like Java and .NET. When compared to Java and .NET, this is case insensitive. That means if you see yesterday, right, I defined the variable like this. While referring this, if I refer everything with capital letter or with some other case, still system can identify, right? Because it is case insensitive. So that's the first thing. So we are trying to understand about the different statements which we develop in a program. Okay. Yesterday already we discussed technically how we call in a program. There can be multiple statements. By keeping all the statements in a proper order, we can form a meaningful program. Okay, so each and everything in a program what we see we call as tokens. Especially we also call those things as keywords identifier. When we call keyword, all those things yesterday we discussed, right? Again, I'm not going to repeat all those things. Okay, we at high level we understand about the primitive data types, non-primitive data types, how we define a variable, all those things. Okay, and later we started understanding about the arithmetic and the logical statements, right? All these are basics. So just we understood how the assignment operator will work. Always whatever we give right hand side, that will be assigned to the left hand side. That's the behavior of the assignment operator. Okay, and also we have arithmetic operators. Okay, so when we deal with the arithmetic operations, so we have different classifications. Okay, we have unary means one value, one operator. That is the unary operator. Binary operator means two values and one operator. Okay, that is binary. Ternary means three values with the two operators. Okay, I'll give example for each. So at present, just already we discussed about the unary operator, right? So when you have a variable with some value, when you use plus, what it will do? It will increment that value by 1. If you give minus, it will decrement that value by 1. So like that. Okay, so this is one value, one operator, we call as unary operator. Okay, so basically in the programs you see these kind of expressions. That time you need to understand how it works. Okay, now let's see some of the examples of the binary operator. Okay, so let me define some variables here. Let's say I'm giving right integer. Number 1 is equal to, I'm giving 100. Number 2 is equal to, I'm giving maybe 20, right? Maybe I'm defining one more variable result. Nothing is there in that. Okay. Now, so what I am going to do, right? Result, in the result, I'm doing some calculation, right? So let's say number 1 minus, from number 1 I am subtracting number 2, right? 100 minus 20, 80. For that result I want to multiply with 2, right? Let's say I'm giving like this, right? So when you see here, right, this is one value, this is one value, this is one value, Binary means I'm saying that it deals with the two values and one operator, right? Even though we have the big expression like this, right? Even though we have the big expression like this, right? So what will happen? System will only take these two values and subtract. First, it do this calculation. So whatever the result is there, and with that and with this, it will multiply and give the result. Okay, what I'm trying to say, even though we have the big expression, system at a time deal with only two values and one operator. First, it calculates this part. Whatever the result is there, that one again with this operator multiply and so like that it calculates. So that's why even though we have the big expression, we call all those things as binary operator. Internal calculation will be like that. Okay, now so the question is, do you think first it will 100 minus 20 80 multiplied by 2? It will do like that, or first it will multiply these two, 20 multiplied by 2, 40, 100 minus 40, 60. How exactly it works? So for that, there is a concept called operator precedence. Okay, if you see, all these are the operators. Okay, so multiplication operator, subtraction operator. So really, what exactly will happen? To know that, we need to know the operator precedence. But mostly people don't like to remember all those things. Especially, I really did not remember. Really, if I want to check, I need to see the documentation and understand. As a developer, I hate to remember few things. So what we can do, my intention is first it should subtract and after that it should multiply. Okay, now I'm saying if you enclose this in the bracket, what will happen? It will make sure to calculate this one separately. Only the result will be again applied to this. Okay, so if you don't give this, we should know about operator precedence. Let's say as part of the operator precedence, if it gives the priority for star, what will happen? 20 multiplied by 240, 100 minus 40, 60 will see. It's like that. Okay. So just understand, I mean, binary operator means when you have a big expression, even though we have the big expression, at a time system will deal with the two values and one operator. That's why we call these expressions as binary operators. Okay. So let's really see how it works, right? I'm copying this one. So once we log into Salesforce, right? So go to developer console, okay? And developer console, you need to click on debug, right? Click on debug, open execute anonymous window. Here we can paste our code and do that. Okay, and also if you want to, when you paste it, I'm seeing some big space like that. Instead of manually adjusting, hold, I mean, copy, highlight all the code, hold, press Shift tab so that it will automatically adjust and show in a proper way. Okay, so like that. Yeah, now, so let's execute and see the result, right? Maybe to see the result, if you print it, you can easily see in the debug log, right? Once we execute the code, system generate a log. In that log, if you want to print something as a developer, we use system.debug and we print it, right? Result and print it, right? Execute. So what is happening? I'm also opening the log automatically, right? After executing, since I checked a checkbox, open log automatically, it is the log. Okay. Here, if you want to see what we printed, you can click on debug only. Now, if you see what is the value, 160, right? So how it is doing the calculation? 100 minus 20, 80. 80 multiplied by 2, right? 160. Let's say if you don't give this bracket, right? Let's see what is the result we see. I'm not giving all those brackets. If the system is giving more priority to this one, the time the result will become 60. Otherwise, if the system is giving priority for minus, you will see same result, whatever we got, 160, right? So let's execute and see. I'm executing. This is the log. Click on debug only. Okay. In case if this log is not opened, if you see here we have. Need to double click and open. Now if you see 60, right? That means the more priority is for star multiplication. Okay. So like that. So just understand these kind of things. Okay. Just for our reference, already I'm keeping this here. Okay. So the next thing, a ternary operator. Ternary operator. So in general, the format is we give the condition, right? Question mark. If the condition is true, part one, whatever, maybe I'll say true part. If the condition is true, that time what you want to execute, that part we give here. If the condition is false, what you want to give, we use. Okay, so maybe how it works. Let's say in the above condition, right? Let's check
Uh,
is,
Hi, Srini.
yeah,
Yeah, can you show me once again how to execute the result?
how to execute the code.
Yeah,
So for that, so do you have the developer edition account? So
yeah, I had.
once you log into the account, once you log into the account, click on the gear icon. Okay,
Okay.
click on developer console. In general, when you click on developer console, it will try to open in a new window.
New tab.
Okay,
Yeah.
in case if you want to open in a new tab, you need to hold control and click on this. It opens like this. Okay, once it opens, you need to click on debug. Okay, you need to click
Yeah.
on debug. The first option, open,
Okay.
execute, and announce window. So here you need to paste your code, or you need to type your code and execute. Once you execute, if you see below, we have logs panel. Here logs will be generated.
Uh, yeah, that one I got. So how I get the result? Like,
So to print it, we need to use system.debug, right? If you see here,
yeah. Okay.
this is the one, this is the line which is printing
Yeah.
system.debug, and I'm referring this result. In that result variable, whatever the value is there, that will be printed in the debug log, right? So once you execute this, right, this is the code, and you are executing and understanding how it is working. You need to click on execute. Once you click on execute, system generates a log. Okay, if you see, this is the log. Double click.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you see the log like this. But looking into entire thing is very difficult. Okay, so if you
Hmm.
want to see only whatever we are printing using system.debug, you need to click on debug only. Okay, when you
Okay.
check this checkbox, it's system.debug, whatever we are printing, only those things it will show. That is the
Okay. Okay.
process.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you, Srini. Yeah.
Yeah. Now come back to this part. We are understanding about the ternary operator, right? So we have the condition, and this is question mark means is the condition true? This will execute. Otherwise, like this. One of the example. Let's say number one in the above situation. Number one is 100, right? Is the number one is greater than number two? We don't know. Based on the values of number one and number two, it will be decided. Let's say if the number one, right, is greater than number two, right? So what I want, it should return the bigger value. Whichever is the bigger, that one, it should return. So now if the number one is greater than number two, if it is satisfied, I'm going to consider number one. That's the bigger value, I know, right? Else, right? Column. Else, if that condition is not true, then number two is the bigger value, right? So this, let's say I'm storing in the result. like this. Now here it will check condition 100 greater than 20. Yes, this one, right? Number one means 100. So this 100 will be assigned to result. If it is not greater than, this will be assigned to result. Okay, to check. Again, go back here, right? Maybe I'm only keeping the first line. Okay. Now here our ternary operator. This one, whatever we are checking, right? The result is equal to 100 is greater than 20. Yes, it takes this 100 and assign to result. Now we see the result as 100, right? So in case instead of manually clicking on this log and opening, after executing whatever the log generated, if you want to automatically open, you can check this checkbox. What will happen? It will execute whatever the log generated. That log will be automatically open. Yeah, I'm using that. Execute. Whatever the log is generated, it is opened automatically. Click on debug only and see what is the value. 100. So now same thing. I'm making this number 2 as 200. This time, right? Number 1 is greater than number 2. No. It take this 200 and assign. Now the value is 200, right? All we are doing, we are identifying the bigger value, right? We don't know, number 1 can be bigger, number 2 is bigger. Whatever is the bigger, we want that one. For that, so using this ternary operator is useful. Okay, so maybe for our reference, I'm just keeping that here. Okay, so just understand. That's about the ternary operator. Okay, so if you see here, 3 values, right? 3 expressions. This one, and this one. 2 operator. Okay, this we call as ternary operator. Okay, so that's about this. Okay, operators. Okay, the next thing we need to understand about one of the thing called arithmetic assignment. That means the combination of both assignment operator and arithmetic operator, right? Arithmetic assignment operator. Okay, it's a combination of both. In some situations, right? Let's say integer. Maybe let's use the same thing, right? So now, in some situations, what happens? All I want is number 1. For number 1, I want to add number 2. Right? For number 1, I want to add number 2 and assign to number 1. So 100 plus 200, 300, that should be assigned to number 1. So what you do further? Number 1 is equal to number 1 plus number 2. We know that here 100 plus 200, 300. Whatever the existing 100 is there will be replaced with this 300, right? So same thing, right? So how we can write? Yeah, so here in Apex, right, slash means commenting. Okay, slowly we'll understand about that. So let's say instead of that one, how we can rewrite that in a simple way? Number 2, right? When we see some of the code, we see people writing like this. If you don't know about this, how it works, we feel difficult, right? How exactly it works. Internally, the meaning of this one is number 1 is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Instead of writing like this, people follow the shortcut like this. Okay, maybe if you are not comfortable with this, still you can use this. But why we need to know? Even though you are not comfortable, other people they write like that. That time when we see some existing program, we have to understand. Yeah, so just understand this is like nothing but like this. Internally, this is the meaning of this. Okay, Okay, let me write one more expression. Let's say number 1 star equal to number 2, right? If you give like this, what is the meaning of this? By this time we should know, right? Number 1 is
Equal
equal
to
to
number 1 into number 2.
number 2. So like that, right? Same way, in place of plus, you can use star or minus or slash for division. You can consider using. Okay, let's see how the result is coming up. Okay, so now here I'm just copying this. Go here. Maybe here we don't want anything result. If you see in the code, right? Slash slash, right? After that, whatever we give, that is commented. That means system won't execute that. Okay, that is for our understanding as a developer. We keep, right? So this is ignored by the system. Okay, only this part will be executed. Okay, so now what I'll do here to make a change, right? So here I'm just giving number 2 is equal to like this. Okay, so now I'm printing the number 1 value and also number 2 value, right? Number 1 I'm printing and also number 2 I'm printing. Okay, for you just think. So what will be the value? Number 1 will be, what would be the value for number 1? Anyone? Right?
300.
Simple, right? 300. What would be the value for number 2?
20,000.
20,000, right? So that means we need to understand in a better way. So now what will happen? So now here, right? Number 1 is equal to number 1 plus number 2, right? 100 plus 200, right? Number 1 becomes 300.
Yeah. Number 1 become 300, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This statement became after this statement, right? After this statement here, at this point of time when this statement is executed, the value of the number 1 is 300, right? 300 multiplied by, right? Maybe this 200 multiplied by 300, right? So whatever the value is there, that one I think 60,000 or whatever the value, right? So let's execute and see. Okay, I'm executing. Click on debug only, and now 60,000, right? So like that. Okay, so this is just an example for the arithmetic assignment. Okay, from day one, just we write the code and understand so that we'll get more interest and work, right? So that I'm just keeping here for our reference later. The next thing, right? We have relational operators. Okay, relational operators. So basically, relational operators equal to. Okay, in general, single equal to means assignment. Right side value will be assigned to left side. Double equal to means equal. It compare. Two values are same or not. If both are same, it returns true. Both are not same, it returns false. So most of the scenarios, all these operators will return either true or false. We use these operators for the comparison purpose. Okay. So if you want to check for equality, double equal to, not equal to, like this or like this. You can use either this one or this one. Both are like not equal. Okay. So it's up to you what you want to use. The other thing, less than. If you want to compare, is it less than or less than equal to, greater than equal to? All these are the relational operators. Okay. So just understand about that. Okay. So now I'm just going to take one example, right? So maybe the same thing here, we have this, right? Let's take some relational operators and understand how it works. Okay. Now when I say number 1 is less than number 2, right? This is a comparison. So what it returns? 100 less than 200. Correct, right? Yes. 100 is less than 200. Since the condition is satisfied, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Okay. To check like that, we use relational operators. Okay. Maybe to deal with this, let's take few things. Okay. Go back to this place. Yeah, I'm just pasting here. Directly leaving like this is not good. Maybe I'm going to print the comparison result. I'm going to print and see what exactly it is written. Right? I'm using system.debug. I'm just checking, right? Number 1 is less than number 2. Yes, 100 less than 200. Correct. True. It has to return true, right? Execute and click on debug only. You are saying true, right? So like that, I can also check many conditions, right? So maybe we know that this should return true, right? So let's say I'm checking is both are not equal. Both are not equal, right? So it will be true only, right? Again, let's say here number 1 is equal to number 2. Number 1 is 100 is equal to number 2 is 200. No, both are not same, right? So like that, we use the relational operators and decide, right? So whether it is resulting the true or false. Yeah, now I think we have to see 2 times true, third one false, whatever here we are expecting, same, right? So this is the example. Now,
Srini,
sometimes, yeah,
so we have done so many logs in the developer console, right? We have done so many operations. What is happening to the code we have given? Can we see it again, or is it going to disappear when we delete?
these logs, right? So if you see, unless you refresh this page, unless you refresh this, right, in the browser, those logs will be there, right? Once if I refresh this page, everything will be gone. Okay.
Even if you close it,
So
also it doesn't save.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Now if you, I'm closing, right? I'm closing, and again I'm opening, right? So that means you are going away from that screen and again coming back, right? Now if you see, are you seeing anything in the logs? You don't see, right?
No, I can't.
So that's what is happening. Let's say you want to store those logs, okay? Even after closing also, you need to persist those logs to refer later, okay? So if you have such kind of requirement in Salesforce, once we log in, left side we have one option called debug, okay? Search for debug, okay? So here we have debug logs, okay? So only we have to enable the logs for a certain period of time. Only that time, whatever the operations we do, all those logs system will store. Okay, we can also later point of time, maybe tomorrow, if you want to go back and see the logs and understand, we can do that. Okay, so let's say we logged in as Abhi, one of the user, right? For this user, already it is there here. Otherwise, you can click on new and add that user. Okay, let's say this user. Click on edit. So now here we need to choose how many hours you want to capture the logs and persist. Okay, so let's say from now, maybe after only 1 hour, I'm giving right? It's like today, from this time to this until 1 hour, I want to persist logs for this user. That's the meaning. Okay, so click on save. So now if you do like that, going forward, if you execute any code, right, any development related things executes, system capture those logs here. Okay, so now, okay, so whatever, let's
I
say
have one
here,
more thing to say.
yeah,
So, suppose we are not going to write this much simple programs also, right? We'll be writing a big code if it seems. Suppose we couldn't finish it today, or can we edit it again tomorrow? How we can do it?
that part we see slowly.
Okay,
Okay,
then it's
now understand that we are not writing any program. Still, we did not start writing a program. Okay, we are understanding about some statements which we can write in a program. What are the different types of statements we see really when you write a program? Okay, how exactly we create the program and how it will be saved permanently, right? All those things later part we'll discuss. For now, this is a temporary area, right? Temporary
okay.
place where we on the fly execute the code and see how the behavior. Okay, so only for debugging purpose. That means we are understanding how the code is behaving. The permanent saving part will come to that. That's what for all those things we are learning the basics now. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Now, right. So whatever I'll show you. Maybe let me explain about that next logical operator. In that process, whatever the logs generated, it will store. I'll show them. Okay. So now the next one is a logical operator. So why we use logical operator? Let's say I want, right? So I want to check two things. Okay. Um, let's say this is one condition, right? Along with this condition, there is a requirement to verify one more, right? It should be greater than 500. Both conditions should be satisfied. If you see, this is one condition which will return either true or false. This is one more condition. But I want to combine both, right? If you are combining both, so how you want? You want to, do you have a requirement to satisfy both conditions or any one of the condition? Based on that, we have to combine, right? How we combine these expressions using the concept called logical operators. Okay, logical operators. Okay, so in Apex we have and, or, not. These are the logical operators. But directly in the Apex code, we cannot use and. Okay, so we instead of this and, this symbols we use, right? And means wherever you want to keep and, we need to use this. Or means two type symbols like this, right? Not means this exclamatory symbol means not. Okay, now if you see, right, this requirement, both conditions should be satisfied. Both, any one should satisfy or both. So it's not like on day to day also what we do, right? Sometimes people say there is a offer, right? So if you, let's say if you buy more than for 1,000 rupees, you will get 10% discount. And if you buy more than 2,000, 10% discount plus they'll give some chocolate or something, right? So I mean that means they're asking both are satisfied. Let's say if any one is satisfied, right? So maybe only 1,000, you get only 10% like that. So we decide you want end condition or R condition based on the requirements. We decide and use. Okay, let's say both should be satisfied. I'm using end. Right? When you separate two conditions with end, the meaning is this should be true and this also should be true, right? So then only we want to do something. Let's say if any one is true, right? If number one is less than number two, or number one is greater than 500. If any one is true, you want to do something, we use R. So like that. Okay. So on day to day also, when we do something, we face these kind of things, right? Same thing will be applied here. Okay. So now let's see practically how this will work. Okay. So for that, so go back here. Maybe the same thing I'm keeping. Okay. And now let's say we want to check this, right? System.debug. Okay. So let's say we are combining both. Okay. So what do you think is the result? If I execute the final result, what is the result? How it will check?
False.
Number one, right?
False.
False. Okay. So first it will check like this, right? 100 less than 200, right? Is it true or false? True. 100 is less than 200. True. This becomes true. And number one is greater than 500. No, right? 100
False.
greater than 500. No. False. So false means end means both should be satisfied. If any one is not satisfied, the final result will be false one, right? Now finally, you see the result as false, right? So now in this scenario, it will be like this. First one is true, right? Second one is false, right? Due to that, the final result becomes false, right? So, but this one I want to keep in the comment. We comment like that. Okay. So like that. So now same thing. If I give R, right, what is the result?
True.
Right. So here only the thing this R. R means any one of the condition true.
Then output will be true.
The final result is true. This becomes the true, right? And also, let's say number one less than number two. I'm giving not. Right? Not means reverse. Number 100 less than 200. Correct. True. Not
It becomes
true.
false.
Becomes false. Right? So not of true becomes false. Okay, like that. So these are the results we'll see. Okay, execute and see. Okay, so all we need to do is execute and see how it is behaving. So I want to open this log automatically, and also along with seeing this log in the developer console, since here we are capturing log until 8:31 p.m. right? Here also it can persist that log, and it will be there. Okay, so I think when I give this, it might be trying to apply to this number one only. Okay, so what we do, we enclose this in the bracket. So that way, whatever the result of this one is there, for that it will apply not. Okay, so now execute, and if you see here, you are saying false, true, false, whatever we are expecting, same thing is coming up here, right? And also, if you go to this debug logs place, just to refresh and see, you see the log is captured here also. Okay, even tomorrow also, if you come to this place and see, you see that log will be there here. Okay, so like that. Okay, so just understand these things. Okay, so now to understand in even better way, for now this is like one example, right? So to deal with few things, right, to see the tables. So here for end, right, I'll take all possible combinations and show you how exactly that end works. Okay. In debug log, for our understanding purpose, I want to print like this. First, I am printing end, right? So maybe it will print like this in the debug. Below to that, with end, I'll take different combinations and show you. Okay, so this one, right? First, I'll say this number 1 is less than number 2, right? Number 100 less than 200, true. And 100, number 1 is 100 less than 500, that is also true, right? So what is the result? True means both are true means the final result is true, right? Both conditions are satisfied, the final result is true. And also here also I'll take n, but this time let's say this should not be maybe satisfied. Okay, now here 100 less than 200, true. Number 1, 100 greater than 500, no, false, right? Okay, I want this combination. The final result, what is the final result? Right? End means all conditions should be satisfied. If any one is false, the final result become false. Right? This is false only. Okay. So I'm trying to take the different combinations. Okay. Now here I'm checking. Number 1, 100 is greater than 200. Right? 100. Number 1 is 100 is greater than number 2. Yes, right? 100 is greater than 200, no, right? False. Okay, so this is false. False. And this one, maybe I want this one to be true. Okay, number 1, 100 less than 500 is true, right? So false and true. What is the final result? False only, right? If any false is there when you deal with the end, the final result will be false only, right? And also I'm taking this. So number 1 is 100 greater than 500, no. False, right? So false and false becomes false only, right? This is one, all possible combinations, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. What would be the result, right? In the same way, same thing, if you deal with R, right? R means instead of these symbols, we use like this, right? If you use like this, okay? So what is the result? So what is the result of the first one? True. So what is the result of the second one? Right? If any one is false, the final result will become false. Sorry, if any one is true, the final result will become true. Now here we have true. Right? Here we have true. Right? Any one condition is true will become true, but here everything is false. The final result is false. This is what we see. Right? So not means that already we tested, right? Reverse values it will give. Let me execute and show you. Okay, so I'm executing. Click on debug only and see, right? Here whatever we are expecting, if you see here in the background, true, false, 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 under R, true, 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 and only false because everything is false. So like that, right? While we study, you might be seeing these kind of tables. You see table A, B, and after that you see A and B, A or B, and what is the result, right? So this is how we are seeing practically instead of checking like that. Okay, that's about the logical operators. When we write the programs, we see these kind of statements. Okay, so that's about these things. right? Arithmetic and the logical operators. The next topic to understand few basics, conditional statements. So all these are interrelated, right? If you see, we should know about relational operators. Without relational operator, logical operator cannot work, right? So we need something to compare and combine with the logical operators. So all these relational operators and logical operators we use for the conditional statements, right? Conditional statement means, so when you write a program, do you want to execute that? Let's say if you write 5 statements, do you want to execute those 5 statements or not? Based on some conditions, we decide. Only if some condition meets, I want to execute, let's say, few lines of code. Otherwise, I don't want to execute, right? So in those kind of situations, we use this conditional statements. One of the famous way of dealing with the conditional statement is using if condition. Okay, so in most of the languages, you see if conditions. Okay, we also have other types, switch, when, all those things. Even though you don't know about that, still you can manage everything with if conditions. First, we understand what we need to know for sure. Okay, so but if you deal with the if conditions, there are different flavors of if conditions. Yeah, I'll just explain all those things, right? So people say simple if condition, people say if else, and else if, and people say if series, nested if. Okay, let's take one example for each and understand, right? So when people say if it is a simple if condition. Okay, maybe let's again deal with this. We have this already. We have, okay, just simply I'm taking if condition, right? The syntax is if, and inside the this is the block of code. One block of code. We can write multiple lines or single line. Here condition. So what is the condition? Let's say number 1 is less than number 2. If this condition satisfied, yeah, if you want to execute some statements, we can execute, right? Let's say if this condition is satisfied, I'm printing like this. So number 1 is less than number 2, right? Like that I am printing in the log. Okay, let's execute and see. Now this is the example of if condition. Only if the condition satisfied, it enters inside and it will print, right? Now I'm executing. Okay, only if the condition satisfied, you see that statement executed, and we'll see that in the log, right? Number 1 is less than number 2. Okay, it is entering and executing, right? So let's say here, instead of printing like number 1 is less than number 2, in this number 1 place, what is the number 1 value? 100. I want 100. In this number 2 place, I want 200, whatever is there, right? So if you want like that, so what we do, to refer the value of any variable, we say number 1. So this is a variable, right, which is having some value. We don't know which value. It can be any value, whatever is assigned in the previous statement, right? So this is a dynamic value. For that, if you want to come, so we don't want this one now. So we want like this. Number 1 is 100, right? 100. We need some space. Is less than, like that, right? So if you are concatenating a variable with a string, this is a string value, text value, right? So we have to concatenate by using plus operator. Now the meaning of this one is number 1 is 100, right? For 100, it will concatenate. After 100, it will give the space and it will print everything. In the same way, we don't want this here. After this, we need space, and after that, again, I want to add number 2 value. So for the existing plus number 2. Okay, so what will happen? 100 per 100, this string will be concatenated, and for that, this will be concatenated. Right. Finally, how we are going to see 100. Right, 100 is less than space 200. Like that, we see in the log. This one. Right. Execute and see. Execute and click on debug only. And if you see, right, 100 is less than 200, right? So this is how the if condition will work. Okay, this is a simple if condition. This is the example. Okay. So let's say in some situations, right? If this is not satisfied, I want to execute some other set of statements. That can be one or multiple. Okay. So that time we take else. Let's say in case the condition is not satisfied. Okay. So I want to execute this part. Obviously, if the number 1 is less than, right? If the number 1 is not less than number 2, that means either number 1 is greater than or equal to number 2, right? So here I know that here I'll print number 1 is greater than or equal to number 2. That is how it will print in the log, right? So now if I execute, what you will see in the log? Still this is satisfied, right? 100 less than 200, still it will be printed. Even though I have else part, right? Still it will go to if only, because if condition is satisfied. If condition is satisfied, it won't go to else, right? If this is not satisfied, now I'm making number 2 as 20. Number 100 less than 20, no, right? Go to else part and it will print, right? Here, number 100 is greater than or equal to 20. Okay, let's execute and see. Okay, 100 is greater than or equal to 20, right? So this is the example for the if else, right? One of the example for your reference I am keeping here. Okay, we have one more thing, else if. Else if means, let's say if this condition is not satisfied, right? If this condition is not satisfied, I want to check one more condition. Okay, here I am checking, is number 2 is greater than number 1? Maybe let's take the same thing, number 1, number 2. Okay, here I am checking, is the number 1 is greater than number 2, right? So it will enter here and it will execute. Okay, this is one way, right? If this is satisfied, it won't enter into this one. Okay, so here mostly people are confusing here. If we use if, else if, and again one more else if, right? Let's say I'm checking, right? One more else if, right, is equal to this one. Out of all these things, so which will execute? Okay, so we have to understand. In some situations, let's say, let me do like this: is the number 1 is greater than or equal to number 2? Okay, so now what I am giving, right? Now if you see 20 less than 20, no, it won't enter here, right? Now 20 is greater than or equal to 20. Yes, it is equal, right? It will enter here. Do you think again it will enter here and this will also execute? Because 20 is equal to 20, correct? So what do you think is the result? Do you see this one and this one both, or only one? That's the confusion when we start newly. Okay, what I am trying to say, when we use if, else if, else if, else if, any number of blocks, any one of the condition which satisfy first, that will be executed. Once one of the block executed, the remaining blocks system won't check. Okay, only right now as per this, since this is satisfied, it will execute and it will stop. It won't check for the further things. Okay, so execute and see. We'll see only the second one, right? 20 is greater than or equal to 20, right? This one only we are seeing. Okay, so I want you to understand this one. Okay.
Sir, then in both the cases, else if and if else, in both the cases, the system will not go further if it is true.
Sorry, which cases?
So there are two conditions, else if and if else.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
so if the first, one part is true, so it will not go to next step. In both the cases or only in else if?
Yeah. See, if else also works in the same way, right?
Okay.
When you have only if else, if the if is satisfied, obviously else won't work, right?
Okay.
Only if the if is not satisfied, it will enter into else.
Okay.
Here also, first it will check this. Is it satisfied? It execute and it won't verify the remaining conditions.
Okay.
When this next conditions will be verified, when this first one is false, then it will check.
Next. Okay.
If this is also false, then it will check like that. Right? But if it is true, it won't check the next thing. That's what is happening now. Now you are seeing this one, whatever we are printing. Okay, that's the example of the else if. Yeah.
In if else condition, if is satisfying, then we don't go to else condition, right? Then why are you using, what is the difference between else and else if? Else and else if.
So else means only we have the scope to use one condition, and the rest of all conditions else. Right? But I have combination of many conditions. If this is satisfied, this is what I want. I want one more criteria to verify. This is satisfied, I want a different behavior. Okay, we can control on multiple conditions and finally decide. Here also we can use else. Finally, if nothing is satisfied, it will enter into else. Like that. Okay. So now this is one, right? Now what I want, even though this second one is satisfied or not satisfied, we don't care. It should go and verify this one also. We'll be having such kind of requirement. Even though this is satisfied or not satisfied, irrespective of that, it should still go here and execute this also. If you want such kind of behavior, all we do, we keep all if conditions one after other. Don't use else. Now in this situation, right, these are like if condition only, but we are keeping all if conditions one after other. People say it is if series. Now due to this, what will happen? This will execute, and also this will also execute. Right? Even though it is true or false, it won't bother. Again, this will also, it will be checking, and you will also see this result. Now both results will see, right? Execute. That we call as if series. Okay. See, both it is executed. Okay, these are the basics. Okay. So once we know this, we can start writing the program. These are the things. Okay. The next one, nested if, means keeping condition inside one more condition. So for example, this if condition, I'm keeping inside this one, the first condition, right? So now the thing is, if this is satisfied, then it enters and it executes, right? And also if this is satisfied, again it enters and executes. If you keep if conditions inside one more if like that, So people say this is a nested if, right? Maybe here you can also use if else. Again, if else if, all those kind of things you can try. Okay. So basically it is a nested if. Now if I execute, what is the result you see? You'll see both will be printing, right? 20 greater than equal to 20, yes. Both are same, yes, right? If I give this, what will happen? 200 greater than or equal to this one, yes, it will execute. But this won't execute because both are not satisfying, right? You can control like that. Okay, so based on the need, so if you know these things, you can work. Okay, this is one example for the nested if, right? So like this. So we also have one more concept called switch when. For now, I am not explaining that. That we see later. Okay. For now, with all these if conditions, we can achieve any kind of requirement while working for a requirement. Okay. So that's about these conditional statements. To control, right? Based on conditions, it decides which statement should be executed. So before we discuss about this one, so let's have 10 minutes break and discuss about this. Okay, so if I am not giving break, I think since this is development, people I think cannot take it. Okay, so now we meet at 10:15. Okay, since I forget this, again we'll continue from. So what is the time now? Okay, 8:15. Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So now just we understood about the conditional statements. So let's deal with the controlling. We also say looping statements. If you want to execute the same statement repeatedly multiple times, in those kind of situations, we deal with the looping statements. Okay. So we have different flavors. So one is while loop. The next one is okay. So for loop, and also we have in between do while loop. So just we are going to understand how we use these loops to iterate over multiple times. If you want to execute some set of statements repeatedly, we use these things. Yep. For there are two flavors. One is index based for loop. The next one is for each. Okay, so these things we have. Okay, first let's deal with the while, and later we also deal with the other conditions. Okay. Sometimes mainly we use while condition, while looping statement. So if you have some condition and until that condition is not satisfied, if you want to keep on iterate, there is no count. I mean, there is no like 10 or 20. It can execute any number of times until one of the condition is not satisfied. Okay. In those kind of situations, we can use while. Okay. So let me take one example, simple example, and show you how we deal. So in general, people say first we need to initialize the loop variable, right? Initialization, and after that while. Here we give the condition, whatever the condition you want to give. Inside that, some logic, and here make sure to use increment or decrement operator. Okay, so let's maybe take example and understand. By seeing the example, you can easily understand how it works. Okay, so go to this. Here, I'm taking one of the loop variable. Okay, in general, as a programming standard, okay, mostly the loops, we start loop variables from I. Okay? Mostly when you see the programs, when you see some of the iterations, loops, you see using I, J, K like that. Okay, the loop variable, mostly all developers use I. Inside for loop, again, if you are using one more loop, maybe we use J, K, L like that. Okay, so here I'm taking I. It's very common for loop, we start with I. That is the loop variable, and I'm giving 0. Okay, the initial value of the I variable is 0. Okay, now while until which condition, right? Until which condition it should execute. Okay, so let's say until I is less than 10, right? Until I is less than 10, keep on, it enters inside the loop and execute. Here, what you want to print, right? I'm printing like this system.debug. I'm printing that I value. First time the I value is 0, right? 0 less than 10, 0. It will print. And also we need to increment that value. Otherwise, this condition will never fail, right? If I don't increment the I value, it execute, and after that again next iteration, still I is 0 only. Infinite times it will try to execute. There is no ending. It's very, very dangerous. Okay, so we have to make sure to add a statement which will spoil this criteria after some point of time. Otherwise, it's a problem for us. Okay, so just understand. Okay, so now, so what I'm going to do here, incrementing that value. Here I'm using the Unary operator, right? When I say I plus plus, what is the meaning? I is equal to I plus 1. Initially I is equal to 0, 0 plus 1, 1. 1 less than 10, it enters and it will print 1. Now I is 1, 1 plus 1, 2. Like that. Once I becomes 10, 10 less than 10, no. It will fail and it won't execute. Loop will be terminated like that. That's what will happen. Okay. So now let's execute, right? Execute. Okay. So now click on debug only. Now if you see 0, 1, 2, up to 9, you are seeing. Okay, this is one of the simple example, right? So maybe if you want to deal with, let's say I don't want to bother about the count, right? So let's say here I'm maybe one more example I'm taking. So here, let's say we are having a number. The number is 10, right? 10. So what I want to execute this until this number is less than or equal to maybe 0. Okay. So I want to execute until the number is less than or equal to 0, right? So that's what I want. So now what I'll do here inside this, I'll be printing this number. So let's say I'm saying number, right, is equal to this number. Okay. So first, so what is the meaning of this one? Number is equal to number plus, sorry, number by, again number, right? Maybe let's take 2. Number So initially 10 by 10 is 0, right? That means it execute only one time. Okay. So let me do one thing. So let me every time subtract 2, maybe 3 from this one, and store that one. Okay. So for that, I'm doing like this. Okay. Now what is the meaning of this one? Number is equal to number minus 3. 10 minus 3, right? So like that. So now one point of time, this value becomes minus, right? That time it won't enter, right? So let's see what is the result this gives. Okay. So click on execute. And now you see after 0, 1, 2, 3. So here it is not at all entered, right? Okay. So until this is greater than 0, it should execute, right? So already I'm checking. If it is less than or equal to, it should enter, right? That means this number is 10. Previously, what I am checking, less than equal to, right? 10 is less than equal to. No, it is not entered one time also. I suppose it will take like this until number is greater than 0. It should enter. Okay. So now execute. And you see, right, you are seeing these are the things, right? First 10 minus 3. I think we are using 3 or 2. 3, right? So 7, right? Next time 7 minus 3. 4. 4 minus 3. 1. Minus 2. That time it is stopped, right? So like that, to deal like this, we deal with the while loop. Okay. So just understand these things. Okay. Now, so when we use do while loop, right? Do while loop. So exactly same as while loop. Only the difference is if the condition is satisfied or not satisfied. Now, if you see, I'm given like this, right? What do you think the result? What is the result of this? 10 less than 10, it won't satisfy. You don't see anything printing, right? Don't see entering into that. So same thing, if I write using do while, right? So how do while works? First we need to use do, and condition we keep here. That's the difference with the syntax. Okay. Now the advantage is, irrespective of whether first time the condition is satisfied or not satisfied, it will enter inside and execute all the statements for one time. Later onwards, it will change. Right? First time, what it will do, it will enter, it will print 10, increment the 10 by 11, 11 less than 10, no, it won't enter. You'll see at least one time it is guaranteed to print all the values, right? So now what I'll do, if you execute, what is the result? It printed 10, right? It is 10. Okay. So now, if you give this, what do you think is the result? If the condition is satisfied for first time, you see the result the same as while. Exactly same result you will see, right? Here also you will see it is printing from 0 to 9. Okay, only if the condition is failed for first time, that time to take the advantage of executing at least one time. This is 0 to 9, it is printing. In positive scenario, it works exactly like while. Negative scenario, right? So that time real usage you will see the do while. Okay. So this is one of the thing. Okay. So mostly we use for loop. Okay. While and do while. So rarely we use when we deal with the Apex program. Okay. So just so we should know the syntax. The next thing for loop, right? Most important, most frequently used for loop. right? First one, index based for loop, one of the flavor. How it works? So we take for here itself the condition, initialization, condition, increment, decrement, everything in the same expression here. Here initialization. What is the looping variable? Integer I equal to 0. I'm giving I less than, let's say 5. I want to print unto up to 5. 0 to 4 up to 5 it will print. Okay, and I plus plus. Okay, like this we use. Okay, how exactly it execute? This part, right? The first part. Okay, just I'm trying to show you. So this part only execute only one time. System execute this part only one time. Later it come here and it will print that value. And after that, I mean, so first, how exactly? Let me clear this. Okay, so first it will first time this is the value and it will check the condition 0 less than 5 yes. Okay, it will execute all this logic and it will increment the value by 1, and after incrementing it is 1, right? Again it will check 1 less than 5 yes, it enters and execute all this logic. Again it will increment, so it will until the condition failed it will keep on check like that. This is how it works, and mostly we use this one. Okay, so let's execute and see the result. You see 0 to 4. Zero to 4, right? You are seeing that result, right? So that's it. Now copy and now go back here. This is the for loop, right? Index based for loop. This is how it works, right? The next one is for each loop, right? For each loop. So here, how exactly it works? This is a little advanced. Okay, so we have one of the upcoming topic called collections. Okay. For now, to show how exactly this for each loop works, even though you don't know the syntax for now, don't bother about the syntax. Okay, later we understand in detail how exactly it works. Okay, now what we do in general, if you want to store one of the number, right? Let's say you want to store a number, how we give and we can store some value. But I want to store multiple numbers. When you want to store multiple numbers, we have a concept called collection. Okay, for now, don't bother about the syntax. I'll explain in detail in one of the upcoming topic. Okay, for now, to showcase how the for loop works, I'm just taking the freedom to define this like this. Okay, so later exactly you'll understand how it can be done. Okay, now this is just I'm defining a collection with some values in that there are multiple numbers. Okay, this syntax we'll see exactly later. So this is a collection which is having 4 numbers. Now if you want to iterate over this collection and capture how this each and every value using for each loop we do. Okay, how we do for, right? Here there is no index. Right side, what is the name of the collection? This is the name of the collection. Left side, what is the data type of this collection? Integer type, right? Integer. And here it's up to you, whatever the name you want to give. It's like a variable. This name as a developer, you give whatever you want. Colon. This is the syntax. Right side the collection. Left side what is the data type of the collection. This is a looping variable. Whatever you feel you can give as a developer, you use colon. Now inside that, to access the each and every value, that will be in this. Now, first time 100, second time while iterating 400. Take each and every value 100, 500. After that, nothing is there. It will stop. It's like that. Okay. This kind of syntax we call as for each loop. It's not that we use for each like this, right? That is wrong. Right? So just understand that. Okay. Now give system.debug. Okay. So here I'm printing that. Okay, you'll see 100, 400, 100, 500, those values. Okay, let's execute and see. Right. So here I'm executing. Click on debug only. And if you see right, 100, 400, 100, 500. After that, there are no values. It is stopping. So this is the syntax of the for each loop. Once we start working for the requirements, most of the times we use this one. Okay. So that's about this controlling or looping statements. Okay. The next type, input or output statements. Right. So this one, to deal with these things really, we need to develop the UI, right? Web page, and in general, mostly on web page form, we enter some data and click on some button. It will try to save. That time we use these things. Okay. For now, as a developer, to just understand, so we use some keywords. Okay. When people say set is for input purpose. Okay. So get is for output purpose. Slowly, with some progress with our training, you will understand where exactly, right? In upcoming examples we use. So let's say when you have a web form, right? You have a form where you need to, let's say, just to showcase. Okay, let's say this is form, right? Here we need to enter the value, right? So when you enter some value and to store that value into a one of the variable, we use set. So already in our program we have a variable. We want to show that value on the web page. That time to show that as a output we use get. Going forward with examples, you will get the clear picture on that. Okay, for now, this is what you can understand. Okay. So with this, so we are done with understanding about the different types of statements which we see in most of the programs. Okay. So to really check, are we able to understand multiple different types of statements? I will show some programs and show you how you can identify these statements. Okay, yeah.
So could you please explain for each loop again?
For each loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so here this is a collection, right? Collection which is having the multiple numbers. Okay, this syntax for now don't bother. In future you'll understand clearly. Okay, now this collection is having four values, right? 100, 400, 100, 500. Four numbers we have in the collection. Now without index, right? Without using I equal to 0, I less than. So how we are iterating over this collection values? Here in the for right side, we need to give the name of the collection. And here number list. Left side, what is the data type of this collection? Here you can see, right? This is the data type integer we give here. Space. Here some variable name, whatever you feel as a developer. Maybe I'm giving as num. And you need to give the column. Okay, that's the syntax. So when you give like that, every time this variable, whatever we define, what it holds first time, it starts with the first number in the collection 100. In the iteration first time the value of the num is 100. After this element it will again go to this element and it take. So now the value is 400. After that it will go here 100. And after that it go here 500. So like that. Keep on, it will iterate and it will capture that value. So that is how this for each loop will work. Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
maybe you want to execute and see. Go here. I think I have executed, right? And showed it's giving value. So that's about that. Now let me show you some of the
So what are the keyword you are entered for aligning the statement? Means
to align the statements. You need to highlight the statements and press Shift to Tab.
okay.
Yeah, so let's say it is like this and highlight, Shift to Tab, it will highlight. Okay, you need to highlight that code and Shift to Tab. Okay.
And one more thing, that open bracket is there, na? For integer number semicolon number list. After that, we are open the bracket. So that bracket will be coming in below. It will be printed or
See, for now,
not
about the syntax of this line.
below one.
This one.
That one. Yes. If we
So,
enter third row, it will be printed or not?
obviously, it is printing, right? System.debug means that is for printing purpose. So this loop, how many times it execute?
So, yes.
If you want to queue like this,
yes.
Yeah, you can give. That's just like syntax, right? How you want to show your code. Maybe if you deal with Java and something people try to maintain, it's up to you. This is like code formatting, how in a better way you want to show. Mostly when we deal with the Apex, you see we deal like this. Okay, but people from Java background, they'll try to keep brackets like this. Okay, you don't give. I mean, it won't give any technical difference. This is only the way how we see. Okay, like this also it gives the same result. Okay, yeah. So now, okay, so let's see. I'm just opening one of my website and I'm clicking on this interview questions. Okay, I'll show some programs. By seeing those programs, we can understand. So how exactly, so whatever we understood different different statements, we should be able to identify. Okay. So let me open this one, right? Now, if you see here, for now, don't bother about this, right? That's a program structure. We'll discuss later. If you see the statements inside that, so what is the statement? It's a memory statement, right? Allocating memory to store a string value. String and the name of the string, the variable name, and this is the default value assigned to that string, right? And also one more variable, one more statement to define the variables, right? F1 default value is 0, F2 next number, all those things. So what is this? For loop, right? Loop. We discussed index based for loop. I equal to 0, I less than. Here number, they'll decide what they supply, that one. They supply 10, they supply 100 based on that, right? This is a for loop. So what is this? So they are doing some addition and assigning the value. Again, they are maybe to this variable, they are assigning one more variable like that. Here assignment. This one plus equal to means Fibonacci series is equal to Fibonacci series plus they are adding this. right? Arithmetic, right? Ascend. This also we discussed, right? So those are the statements. The other things with our next concepts you will understand. Okay. So in the same way, I'm showing this program, right? Let's look into these statements, right? This is one of the memory statement defining a Boolean variable default value false. Now if you see, right, if condition to control, right? So here maybe for now math.mod, all those things will understand slowly. So here they are using relational operator, right? Double equal to comparison, right? Logical operator, either this condition or this condition, right? So like that, right? And again this one also they are doing some arithmetic operations and printing, right? To print in the debug system.debug. Already we used this one. So now in general we understood the basics. By this time, if you see some program, we can identify some statements, why they are writing those statements. Okay, now the next phase. So what is this? All these statements are inside this, right? So what is this? What is this? To understand, we need to understand about one of the concept called OOPS concepts. Okay, FX is based on the OOPS concepts, object-oriented programming concepts. So to understand those things, we need to know about OOPS concepts, right? Object-oriented programming concepts. Okay. So let's understand, and slowly we'll write the program. Okay, almost we are. Once we understand few things, we'll be ready to write a program. Okay. Now, as part of the OOPS concepts, we have encapsulation. We have abstraction. We have polymorphism and inheritance, right? So what is this? So even without knowing this also, you see some people writing the programs and working. That is possible. But they might not be knowing in-depth scenarios. Okay, if you know the all basics, it's easy for you while working. Okay, so these are the OOPS concepts. So first, what is that encapsulation and all these things before we deal with that, right? So just assume that there is a program, right? So let's say we have a program. In the program, what exactly we keep? Okay, so mostly in most of the programs, we define the variables, right? Memory statements to hold the data, right? In a program, you see the data. Data, how we hold the data using variables, right? And what else you see in a program? Doing some actions. Let's say I'm supplying two numbers, right? We define the two variables, number one and number two. What do you want to do with those two numbers? Do you want to add, or do you want to subtract or multiply or divide, or do you want to do some other calculation? We decide, right? So to decide those things, we define some actions. Okay, so actions are instructions. Technically, these actions in object-oriented programming languages we call as methods. Method means reusable logic. Set of statements which can be reusable. That means again and again we can call those set of statements. So that we use as a method. Slowly when I define, you will understand even more better way. Okay? Just understand, mostly in a program you see some data. With that data, based on the instruction, based on the action what we call, that will be executed. Let's say if I supply two numbers, if I say add, it will add those two numbers. If I say multiply, it will multiply those two numbers like that. Okay. So now all these things we call as the program elements. So all these are the different elements in a program. Okay. So all these are the elements. Okay. Now, what is this encapsulation? Okay. So first, this encapsulation, the meaning is it binds, right? So if you see these two, right? If you define all these things in the developer console, this is temporary place. There is no way to save this one. Okay. To save the whatever the statements we write, so we have to provide a program structure. Okay. So this encapsulation, it binds means combine, hold, right? It hold the elements in a program together. Elements in a program together. Okay. So let's say data variables are some elements, methods are some elements. All those things it combine as one single unit and maintain as a program. So for that purpose, this encapsulation will be used. Right here, when I say elements, it binds the elements. Right, it can be a variables, methods, and so on. There are many more. Those elements it will combine together in a one program. Okay, so that's the encapsulation. Maybe to understand with one of the real world example, if you see the TV, right? You know TV, right? We use TV on day to day. But inside TV, if you open the TV and see, there are many things inside the TV, right? So picture to motherboard, and there are many things you see. Okay, but all those things, right? Motherboard and the picture tube, and there are many things. All those things are combined into one TV panel, right? On top, they fix the panel, and we see the monitor, and we watch the TV, right? But internally, there are many things. So, but the panel of the TV is holding all the different parts of the TV into one single unit. Okay, so like that. So that's the encapsulation. It is holding the different elements in one place. So that we call as encapsulation. So to hold, so how exactly we implement this? So we have the keywords, we have class, and we have interface. Okay, let's say when you say panel, which type of panel, right? So maybe the class is one of the possibility. Using class, we can hold multiple elements in a program together. Or using interface, we can hold multiple elements in a program together. Either using class or interface, we can achieve by holding multiple elements into one single unit. Okay, that's the encapsulation. So if you take some example, you will understand even in a better way. Okay, first let's understand about this class, right? So what is this class? When you say class, so what is the meaning of the class? So all these object-oriented programming concepts are based on some real world what we do on day to day to automate those things into a programmatic way. For that purpose, these OOPS concepts are implemented, okay, introduced. So here, class is just like a plan. Class is a plan. Okay, so maybe one of the example. Let's say car, right? Let's say we see different types of cars in the market. Let's say if you take one of the car, let's say BMW, some model. Okay, so how they manufacture? First, engineers, they will decide the plan, right? Without the plan, directly they cannot manufacture. Right? First, they decide the plan. In the car, what exactly should be there. All those things they design. First, they'll be having a pictorial representation. So, what are the different parts, and they'll be having the plan. As per the plan, the car will be manufactured by assembling multiple parts, right? So, like that, class, we can automate that functionality in a programmatic way. Okay. So, here, the car plan, right? The car plan on the paper is like a class, right? When you write a class, it's like we planned to do something, right? It's like the car plan on the paper or somewhere. Like that, class is like that plan. But when we can use the car by assembling multiple elements, right? So if the car is manufactured and if there is a physical existence of the car, right? So that's the time we can really get into the car and operate and use. The same way, we write the class. Class is a plan. But if you want to use that class, we have to create the object, right? Object is like manufacturing the car. The physical existence of the car is the object, right? So let's say car plan, right, is a class, right? The physical existence of the car, right? Physical, right? Physical car, whatever manufactured based on the plan, is a object. Let's say by following the plan, how many cars can be manufactured as per the need? 100 or 200 or 500, as per the demand in the market, they will manufacture. In the same way, once we create the class, right? Let's say when we create a class with the name, let's say car, with the car, we created a class. So how we use that class? The class is nothing but plan, right? How we use? We can also create multiple objects and use, right? So by following the plan, so for each physical car, maybe they give some number, right? Some unique number. Right? In the same way, when we define object, we give some name, car 1, car 2, like that, right? So there can be multiple cars. How they identify each car? With some number. In the same way, we, after writing a class, say a plan, by using that plan, we create multiple objects. For each object, we give some unique name. So now object is the physical existence of a car. Now the next thing, once we have the car, we have to operate that car, right? We have to open the door, right? We have to go and open the door, and we have to start the car. We have to apply the brake. We have to accelerate. All those things we need to do, right? So using the object, right? Using the car can have actions, right? There can be different actions. Maybe start car, right? Start car. Maybe accelerate, apply brake, right? Apply brake. So all those are the different actions we do, right? Stop the car, all those things. So in the same way, once we create the object, right, in the class, we also need to instruct with that object what you want to do. Do you want to start the car, or you want to apply the brake? All those things also we have to define. Let's say in the car, if they don't give the gear, right, we have also gearbox, right, gear option. Let's say it is an automated car, there is no gearbox. No need to do that action, right? Internally it will do. Only whatever the features they offer, Only those things we do. In the same way, when we create a class, we define some actions, right? So what are the possible actions they can do? When we create the object for that class, only whatever actions defined in that, we can do that. Okay, it's like the real world things we automate using the OOPS concepts. Okay, so class is a plan, like a car plan on the paper. By using that plan, there can be multiple objects created. Right? By using car plan, multiple cars will be manufactured. By using class, we can create multiple objects. After creating object, we need to decide, right? We decide what we want to do. So which action we want to do, we instruct. Based on that, that will give the result. So that's the thing. That's the understanding we should have. There may be one more example. Building, right? Let's say you want to construct one building. First, what we need? The building plan. The building plan on the paper is a class, right? So let's say there is 1800 square feet place, same dimensions. Let's say, so there is a 60-40 or some site is there, right? Let's say like that there are 10 sites. Okay, so with the same plan, right? They can follow that plan and construct 10 buildings in those 10 places which are having same measurements. So like that, right? The building plan on the paper is like a class. Using that class, you can create multiple objects. Here, physical existence of a building is the object for the class. When you have the building, we need to operate, right? How the building works, we have to operate, right? So that, okay, so we, those are the actions. Okay, so maybe you are opening the door, maybe you want to get into the lift. All those are the actions like that. Okay, so just understand that. So now before we write the class and understand in detail, we also need to know about this abstraction, right? So once we understand this, I'll start writing the program. So abstraction, the definition, it deals with the visibility of the elements in a program, right? So that we call as abstraction. So for example, let's say a car is there, right? In the car, do we see all the parts of the car? In the car, there might be an engine, right? So inside that there is a tank for petrol, all those things. But we see what we need, right? We don't bother about how engine is running and no need to see. All we need to see the door to get into the car, right? And also we don't need to really see the fuel inside that, right? So just to input the fuel, we should have some option. If you want to see how much fuel is there, we have the dashboard there, we can see. So the thing is, what you want to show, what you don't want to show. Those things we decide using the abstraction. Okay. So few things we can see, few things we cannot see. Okay. So those kind of things, just understand. Okay. And also building also same thing, right? Outside people, they can only see the building elevation and all those things. Okay, inside whatever building is there, they cannot see. The public people, they cannot see. Who can see? If someone enter into that home, let's say you have a house, if your friend comes, right, they can enter into your house and they can sit in the hall. So only the friends and relatives can only enter into a hall and they can access. Maybe we don't encourage them to go to some bedroom and see that, right? So again, there are different levels of visibility, right? So only few people, the public people, they can only see the elevation. Friends and relatives, they can see only the maybe the hall or some part of the house. Only the family members, they can access everything like that. So how exactly we want to show those things? We deal using the abstraction. Okay, it deals with the visibility. Okay, there are different types of visibility. Okay, so those visibility, what we control using access modifiers, right? So access modifiers. So we have the different access modifiers: private, protected, and public, and the global. These are the different visibility things. Okay, so maybe if you want to understand with some example, let's say you are staying in one of the gated community place. Okay, so in the gated community, let's say there are 100 apartments, 100 flats. Okay, so let's say in that community there is a shopping mall, right? Anyone, even the outside the community people, anyone, they can go to that shopping mall and buy. That's like a global place. Anyone, even outside people also, they can enter and buy from the shopping. So public means, let's say there are some garden area and some gym and some of the other facilities. Only the people belongs to those 100 apartments, they can go and use. It's like public for that community. Anyone, they can go and use. That's the public. Protected, maybe the dedicated flat, right? The dedicated flats. Let's say we have a flat and the dedicated flat. Let's say our friends and relatives, if they come, they can see hall and some places. That's the protected. Only that, only friends and the relatives, neighbors, they can come and see. Private is the places like bedroom and other things, which is only specific to that family members. That's private. Like that, different visibility, right? Here also same. Such kind of things we deal in the program. Okay. So that once we write the program, we'll understand. Since we don't have time, tomorrow we'll write a class by using all these visibility things, and we'll also create the object and see how exactly it works. Okay, that we deal tomorrow. So with today we are done with the demo. Okay, so some of you, so if you are new or if you only join for admin, case if you are interested, so you have to pay the fee by tomorrow class, so that you will get the updated meeting link. Okay, so that's about this. And yeah, before ending, any questions?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, in this case, we are talking about the visibility of the elements. Is it similar to the same access which we provide in while studying in admin, like OWD, private or public? Is it the same thing? Like whom we are giving the visibility? Is it the user we are talking about?
Yeah. So that with the example tomorrow, whatever I'm going to create, you'll understand. Okay, the profile and OWD visibility, that is a different concept. This is a different concept.
So
Tomorrow,
it,
when I write the program, you will understand. I recommend you to wait until we complete that class and execute that class. Okay. After that, maybe still if you have question, we'll discuss. Okay. For
okay,
now,
sir.
whatever you are thinking is not correct. That is different. This is different. Okay.
Okay, got it. And sir, one more thing, like I want to join this. I mean, I'm joining it, but will you help me in some of the topics which you are not going to cover in this? I mean, for certification, if I find any doubts or any problem in some of the topics, so I mean, can you help me with that?
Yeah, so the thing is, due to my schedule,
Yeah.
maybe I cannot connect one to one, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours like that. Okay. So
Okay.
just that's the fact.
Yeah,
I
I
cannot
understand.
say that I'll connect one to one for 1 hour or 5 hours or 10 hours and explain. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have that much time. Okay, what I can do, whenever you have a question, there is a help group. Okay, WhatsApp group. You can post. The other
Okay.
guys also already there are many people who took the certifications. They'll try to help. If they are
Okay.
not able to help, I'll try to help as soon as I have time. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So maybe I cannot say that as soon as you ask question immediately I can answer. Okay.
Mhm.
Sometimes based on my busy schedule, I might answer on the same day or maybe after one day. It's all based on the work what I do on that day. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Any other questions?
Hello, Srinu. I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm from the non-technical background.
Okay.
Is there anything additional I should need to learn for this for development?
Yeah. So already, do you know the Salesforce administration?
Yes.
Okay. So this
Yes.
development mostly whatever I explain, you have to
Okay.
follow and practice. Then you will be
No,
good. Okay.
I'm asking, is there any additional thing like need to learn any software or additional information to be learned before attending this class?
No.
Like
This
you
is
are explaining like OOPS concept and everything, right? So
yeah,
for
but
that,
I'm explaining.
yeah,
I'm explaining some basics only, right? Do you think
yes,
you are not able to follow and suddenly
no,
I'm
no,
starting from something which you don't know? So in
no,
general,
okay,
I'm thinking that I'm explaining by giving all the basics and step by step. I'm thinking, I'm explaining, and I'm thinking that
yes,
you are able to understand. So if you are not able to
yes,
understand, you have to ask, right?
okay, okay,
So then I'll
yeah,
try to explain again and help. So beyond this, I don't think so.
okay,
Somewhere you'll get it. Okay.
okay,
So
yeah,
some books are somewhere also. If you read, they will try to explain the same thing even in more technical way. Okay,
yes,
that you feel even more difficulty to understand. Okay, so in case
yes,
in the process of understanding these things, whatever I am explaining, if you feel something you are not able to understand, just ask me, right? So
yeah,
I did not understand, right? So I'll try
okay,
to repeat and make sure that you are able to understand. Okay,
okay, sure, thank you. Okay.
so it's like
Uh,
that, and yeah.
Can you tell me like when to use round brackets, curly brackets, all those things? I mean like
Um,
when you, yeah,
yeah, yes. So
thank you.
so far we are not using the so rounded brackets, right? Maybe only for one statement I used. I told that I'll explain later, right? I think nothing. Okay. So here,
Uh,
I mean, this syntax, right? Whatever. If you see here, we are using this brackets, normal brackets.
yeah.
So curly brackets is mainly when we decided to write some multiple statements. Whenever
Okay.
you want to enclose multiple statements into one unit, that
Mm-hmm.
time we use the flower brackets. Okay, if
Okay.
you take this example of while,
Mm-hmm.
here I am starting flower bracket, ending flower bracket. The reason is in between I am going to write many statements.
Okay.
Okay, so while here I am taking these brackets, we are going to only keep one expression, small expressions like that. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
just all you
Thank you.
need to do is follow the syntax, and with some practice, you'll be knowing where we need to
Oh,
use which one.
okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay, yeah. So any other questions before ending? Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.